Finally, after a long wait, the season highlight identity of Season 6 has come to Limbus Company, and that ID is none other than the Lord of Hongyan, Honlu. This unit acts as a Heisho capstone, getting stronger with each ally of that faction, inflicts rupture, gains poise, provides offensive support for his allies, has assist attacks, a unique ego synergy, has access to the retreat mechanic, and more. Honglu's kit is quite robust, and figuring out how to use him efficiently might take some time. So in this video I want to help you out with that, by first quickly going over Honglu's kit, and then getting right into his performance in combat, unique quirks he adds to team building, and more. But before we start, allow me to remind you that most of my viewers are not subscribed. So if you find yourself coming back to my videos, or end up enjoying this one, consider subscribing. It takes just 1 second and helps me out a lot. Without further ado, let's get back to our new lord. We'll start with Honglu's kit. Now everyone and their mother has decided to make a kit review this time around, so I don't think you're unfamiliar with it. Because of that, I will be very brief in my kit overview, so we can get into the combat analysis faster. The Lord Honglu has low HP, high speed and a lower than average defense level, making him more focused on offense than defense. His sin affinity spread consists of Gloom, Gluttony and Pride, with a Gluttony defense. Honglu's first skill is I Wish to Open Up the Path. It provides defensive buffs, hits with 2 coins, and is Rupture and Poise count neutral, but because it only gives Poise count, it's actually good at stacking it up. It gets power from negative effects and also gets stronger with Poise and Rupture, as is the case with every skill of this ID. His second skill has 4 coins, 2 of which are unbreakable. It gives glut damage up to allies, is rupture count negative by 3, gives Honglu some poise, inflicts some rupture, and deals up to double damage with its last coin. Honglu's skill 3 comes in 3 forms. The first form is Answer Me Heisho packs. It has 1 unbreakable coin, rolls up to 25, does not trigger defensive skills, gives Honglu a bunch of poise, and then effectively forces out an assist attack from the earliest deployed Heisho identity using their skill 3 via Exalted Command, and gives them a buff in the form of Unrelenting Storm. We'll get into more details a bit later. The coin of the skill inflicts offense and defense level down. If Exalted Command goes through, Honglu's skill 3-2 is activated. This skill has 2 coins, gets empowered if a combo is procced with a Heisho Adept, gets a bunch of extra damage from multiple sources, and gives Honglu a type of Heisho Bolus Contamination based on which Heisho used the combo move with him. The coins of the skill go negative in rupture count by 1, deal extra damage, inflict slash resist down and rupture, and on kill, the second coin also heals SP and provides buffs for the Heisho ally with the least SP. If Exalted Command did not go through for any reason, skill 3-3 is activated instead of skill 3-2. It gets 1 more coin and gets buffed by Life from Death, on top of the same buffs as skill 3-2. Having 3 or more Life from Death also gives the skill attack weight. In essence, skill 3-3 is simply an empowered version of skill 3-2. As for the Lord's defensive skill, he gets a 1 coin clashable counter. This skill buffs allies at combat start, And if there are backup units, Honglu forces the Heisho ID with the lowest HP percentage to use an unopposed skill 1 and then retreat from the encounter, while healing 10% HP. Heisho units subbed out that way will return earlier than other units in the backup slots. If there are no backup units, this skill just buffs the lowest HP Heisho. Honglu also gets a second defensive skill in Lord's Guard, which is a simple clashable guard. We'll get to how that skill is used soon, because we're moving on to the passives. Honglu's first passive is the Heisho Lord. When an ally subs in on the field, they heal 10 SP and use their first skill at combat start on the turn they sub in on. Heisho Pack and Ja family units get twice as much SP and use a free skill 3 upon entering instead. This can be used 2 times per encounter per identity. Honglu also gains Leash Holder of all Heisho for every Heisho unit on the team. And when those units die, Honglu heals SP and gains stacks of life from death. Additionally, the Lord deals 5% extra damage for every stack of Heisho Bolus Contamination. His second passive requires 5 Gluttony owned to activate, and at combat start, if Honglu is not defending but is being targeted by an unopposed attack, he applies Lord's Guard, his version of assist defense, to Heisho Pack allies. Lord's Guard makes the affected ally jump out and redirect the attack to themselves, while using the Lord's Guard defensive skill to protect themselves. Honglu also gets to cheat death once, gaining a stack of tarnished blood in the process, and he deals 3% more damage per stack of tarnished blood. When activating Tears of the Tarnished Blood the End, Honglu gets to ignore the death effect of the skill once, healing 60% HP instead and gaining 1 damage up for the encounter. As for the Lord's support passive, it requires 6 Gluttony and it increases the damage of the lowest HP percentage ally based on death rates on the target. Before I can move on to Honglu's performance in combat, I need to also look at the unique effects he is working with. Unrelenting Storm gives offense and defense level, stacks up to 2 and acts as a combo counter for Heisho identities. Exalted Command is effectively an assist attack. Once Honglu gives this effect to an ally, that ally will hit the same enemy Honglu just attacked with an unopposed skill 3 of their own. This effect does not activate empowered skill 3s. Heisho Bolus Contamination stacks up to 11 and provides buffs for Honglu based on which Heisho he comboed with. The effects stack with each other, but not with themselves. Leash Holder of all Heisho similarly stacks to 11, and based on the stack gives Honglu speed, offense and defense level up, and extra damage. At 5 stacks, the effect also empowers all Heishos on the team. Life from Death stacks up to 5 and provides offensive buffs based on the stack. Lord's Guard, as I explained previously, is a unique assist defense which allows allies with the effect to protect Honglu from unopposed attacks by using the Lord's Guard skill, which is displayed as Honglu's second defense. Okay, that's the kit. Even when being brief, it took a while to go through. But honestly, it's still less text than I expected out of a Season 6 highlight identity. So, what is Honglu's role in the Rapture team? Well, he acts as the Heisho capstone, with most of his power being locked behind having a ton of Heisho pack identities on your team. He's mostly a support identity, with buffs on skills 1 and 2 and the ability to give out free skill 3s on his third. But on top of behaving as a support AD, Honglu also gets access to some incredible high damage ceilings. However, you need to remember that giving Honglu multiple bolus stacks as well as enough poise to actually last is a difficult task, so you will never actually achieve his great damage ceilings in real game modes. But even at half power, Honglu packs quite a punch. Not quite at the level of Mao Faust, but still very strong. His first skill is a nice way to get some gloom while stacking up poise count and remaining rapture count neutral. The defensive buffs this skill provides go hand in hand with the Heisho defensive skills, which the IDs like using more often than a lot of other factions. Using this skill at the beginning of an encounter alongside all the defensive skills that the Heishos need to set up will allow you to win clashes more easily, thus helping out your early SP gain. Honglu's second skill is also a very notable one, as it's similar to that of Shichun Ishmael. It clashes extremely well at max conditionals, procs Rapture 4 times and deals a ton of damage if it crits, while also increasing the damage of ally gluttony skills used on the same turn. The one weakness of this skill is it going -3 in Rapture count, meaning you cannot use this one carelessly, and you will need to wait for the Rapture stack to grow in order to get a lot of value from the second skill. But really, the most important part of the Lord's kit is his third skill. Answer Me Heisho Packs is a fairly weak skill on its own, but luckily it's only the beginning of a chain of skills. After the skill is used, the earliest deployed Heisho Pack ally is chosen. That ally gets a stack of Unrelenting Storm and Exalted Command. The Exalted Command makes the affected unit use their third skill unopposed against the ally hit by Honglu's skill 3. After that attack goes through, Honglu hits another skill 3 into the enemy, and this time it's I Carve the Path of a Lord. This skill is much more devastating than the base skill 3, and it also shows different visuals based on which unit previously received the Exalted Command. Depending on which unit got the command, Honglu gets one of the 5 currently available buffs in Heisho Bolus Contamination, making him stronger in a certain way for the rest of the fight. Now, Honglu also gets a third version of his skill 3, but this one is not a skill you will find yourself using under normal circumstances. It's here mostly for solos or when all your Heishos are somehow dead. The skill itself is stronger than skill 3-2, but because 3-2 comes with a free Heisho skill 3, the power difference is not what it might seem. So, how do you use all of these skills and effects in tandem during combat? Well, as I said before, the first skill is a safe bet for a lot of scenarios, as it is Rapture count neutral. It's a good skill to use early because of its poise count application as well, so I'd recommend using the first skill repeatedly when starting out a fight. Once your Heishos are set up, you can also look into using your skill 3. As a very important note, I need to say that you must check your earliest deployed Mao branch unit's speed before using the skill. Whether the fourth skill 3 can reuse a coin or not depends on the speed of the Heisho Pack unit and not Honglu. So if your Mao Otis rolled a 9, it's a good idea to hold off on using the skill 3 until she rolls a 10 or higher. If you're confused as to why I mentioned Mao Otis specifically, that's because you also need to choose which unit gets the Exalted command. As I've said already, the command goes to the earliest deployed Heisho, and after that happens, the next one will go to the second earliest deployed Heisho, and so on, until everyone has a stack of Unrelenting Storm and the cycle begins anew. Choosing which Heisho gets the command doesn't just come down to which skill 3 is better, as Honglu gets buffs depending on which unit comboed with him, and some buffs are straight up better than others. The worst one by far is the buff from Mao Faust, which just makes Honglu 5% more durable. I mean, you could have seen this one coming. Faust needs at least some metric where she's not number 1. However, the rest of the Heishos do have some interesting effects, and the one that interests me the most as of right now is Mao Otis. Her buff allows Honglu to inflict 1 rupture count on hit with unopposed attacks once per turn. This effect makes Honglu's skill 1 become count positive, and it also makes skill 2 less of a liability on the stack, as it only goes -2 instead of -3 now. Also, a lot of modern Rupture units want to clash with the enemy in order to inflict count, meaning that against enemies with a lower amount of actions, getting the full value of the team becomes a lot harder. The Mao Otis buff helps out here, as it rewards Honglu for not competing with his allies over enemy skill slots, making him feel great to use with that buff active. On top of this great buff, Otis benefits from the forced attack being unopposed, as she can inflict more rupture count this way. As it stands right now, I believe Mao Otis is the best unit to have in the top slot of the Rupture team. But maybe something else will come to light in the future. If something does, I'll keep you updated. Once you've used your first skills to stack up poise and your third for more poise and rupture, Honglu can move on to getting great value out of his skill 2. By the time you're done with the other skills, the rupture stack should grow large enough for you to easily be able to slot in count negative skills without a care in the world. Proccing rupture 4 times with one skill is awesome, but doing so with a high rolling skill that crits and does extra damage is even better. With conditionals and poise up, Honglu's skill 2 is as strong as a lot of skill 3s in the game. But it's a very needy skill, so it's better to hold on to it until you're in a comfortable enough position to use it. All of this is pretty much how you want to use the Lord of Hongyan, on a basic level. Use skill 1 to stack up poise. Get some rupture going by getting a free Mao skill 3, ideally Mao Otis, and then finish the enemy off by proccing all of the rupture you've stacked up by using his second skills. At this point you might be asking yourself, why haven't I talked about his defensive skill? And the reason is simple. I don't really like it that much. It forces a Heisho unit to hit a free skill 1 and then leave combat after healing a bit. The Heisho units are currently the strongest core in the game, so I don't really see a reason to swap them out for someone else. You might point towards the free skill 3 they get when returning, but let me ask you this. Do the Maos come back with haste? Do the Sis come back with poise? Well, They don't. And without those effects, the free skill trees are effectively worthless. You could probably find a way to make this effect work, and actually it can be very useful if you're playing through Diffraction Railway and are trying to get free attacks in for more resources and quicker damage. But I tend to just stay away from it in other modes and play around the Heisho's being on the field. However, I do have to say that we will get more Heisho's in the future, and once we do, we will have to shuffle them around, so the defensive skill will become more valuable with time. Before I end this video, I also need to say that the new identity is the perfect holder of the Tears of the Tarnished Blood Ego skill, as he is able to use the end without dying, meaning he can use multiple ends easily. Honglu also perfectly fuels the ego, so using it is easier than ever. I highly recommend going for corrosions of that skill, as that form deals a bunch of damage and can score many Rapture procs. Speaking of not dying, by the way, this unit is effectively impossible to kill, as he can cheat death with his passive, heal back up with Tears, and also revive with Dimension Shredder. Basically, the low max HP he has is a total lie, as the Lord does not go down almost at all. And this is pretty much all I have on our new seasonal highlight identity. I will make sure to add more info on how to build a team around him in my upcoming Rapture guide. But I can tell you this much: Honglu is really strong, but he also feels balanced and interesting. Yes, he's stronger than a lot of identities, but that's what seasonal highlights are. He gives the team a lot of free attacks with both his skill 3 and defense, and that defense of his is bound to only become stronger as time passes. He uses his signature ego incredibly well, and refuses to die. Overall, you obviously want to pick this ID up, but remember that he is a Heisho capstone, so he wants an appropriate team in order to be truly at the peak of his strength. If you disagree or have something to add, feel free to leave a comment below. If you enjoyed the video at any point, leave a like to let me know, and consider subscribing to see more like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye!